What happens when you are the only one who's prepared and nobody else is? Hey guys, it's Dan from Dozer Rescue. And in today's video, we're talking about something that is often not talked about on preparedness channels. Specifically, you spend all this time preparing and getting yourself ready, creating your bug out bags, learning medical skills, and practicing drills over and over. But what happens when you're the only one who does that and nobody else around you is ready for it? So let's go ahead and set the scene. So let's talk about, if you're like me and you live here in California, a worst case scenario. For here, we're dealing with wildfires, we're dealing with active shooters, we're dealing with landslides, we're dealing with earthquakes, we're dealing with political divides, groups fighting against each other, and all kinds of things on a regular basis. Not to mention, you throw in little things like a pandemic here and there, and that really messes people up. So today's going to be a little bit more of a hypothetical, but we're going to talk about an absolute worst case scenario where things are just going south all across the board. And we're going to talk about some things that you may be experiencing and how to handle some situations that may come up if you are the only one who's prepared and ready to handle it, but everyone else is not. So you've been planning and you've been preparing. You subscribe to the Dozer Rescue YouTube channel. You've seen all the different resources that I've provided to you. You've watched all the videos. You've got your bug out bags ready. You've learned your medical skills. You've practiced your drills. You've done all kinds of great things to prepare yourself. You've canned your food. You've looked at water sources. You're ready to go. However, let's say that it's a couple days now into this scenario and word is getting around that your house is still good, you're in a good condition, and everyone else around you is starting to fade away and starting to really let that panic set in. So here is going to be 3 types of people that you will likely experience if you haven't already during a scenario emergency like this and how to best handle them. So one of the first people that you might run into or experience frequently during this scenario is going to be people that are what I call moochers or beggars, right? So they're going to know that you have prepared yourself and they can see that you're well established and set up. And so they're going to come to you and they're going to ask you for supplies. Can you please help me do this? Can we come stay with you? And especially if you have been doing your due diligence, there's a good chance you've been telling some people, friends or family members nonetheless, that you're prepared. Or maybe you're someone who isn't so humble and you brag about it to everyone you meet. Regardless, this may happen to you and people may come up begging you for help, especially in this kind of environment. That's just one character that we're going to talk about today. The other thing is going to be the jealous people, the people that are entitled and think that you are way too prepared and this is too much for you and you need to share and you need to give your supplies to them to be a good person. This is very common. It happens in not just preparedness situations, but in a lot of situations in life in general. When we typically see someone who's being successful and they're working on themselves and they're elevating everything about them in their life, people tend to get jealous really quickly and they want in on the action and they try to bring that person down. And so again, that's more of a life lesson, but this also is applicable to this emergency scenario where people will be upset with you because you are doing so much better than them and they will try to take away your preparedness from you. And then the last person that we may run into and encounter is going to be those that have some kind of authority, the know-it-alls, the ones that are the ones trying to call the shots, if you will. So these are going to be individuals who try to tell you this is morally right or this is morally wrong and how you are obligated to help other people based on X, Y, and Z. It's going to be people that are trying to manipulate you and take things from you, or at least make you feel guilty enough to start giving away your supplies, your preparedness items, or putting yourself in danger for the betterment of other people. And so what can we do about these individuals in the scenarios that we may be facing? The first thing that I would recommend to you is doing something called going dark, right? Or going gray. If we're truly in a situation like this, where there is consistent wildfires or natural disasters happening, this is a really bad scenario. You have people trying to break into houses. There's all kinds of different groups that are at war with each other. In this kind of environment, we just want to lay low or go dark. So we don't want to go out and really share with people too much of what exactly we have in store and how we're prepared. We just want to do our thing, stay in our own bubble, and really not interact with people too much. If we can stay sheltered in some place, We don't want to flaunt any of our gear or brag about how we're doing so much better than other people. We just want to keep to ourselves and really focus in on our family. Next, we're going to eventually run into a situation where people find out that you have been well prepared this whole time and they want in on the action. And so instead of getting flustered or upset because they will try to push your buttons, one technique and tactic that I recommend for you to do is try to give them breadcrumbs. And what I mean by that is give them little bits of information here and there to make them feel empowered and knowledgeable, like you really shared something with them in terms of survival to help them. But at the same time, you're not really giving them too much information. So you could share a little bit of food, maybe a little bit of water. If you have things that are just, they don't really impact you as much, they're not really taking away from your overall preparedness, then by all means, I would go ahead and give out and share some of those little things. By giving out breadcrumbs, you're essentially satisfying people in the sense that you are giving something to them. You're helping them, regardless if it's knowledge or actual physical items, but you're giving them something of value. And so they will take that and it will satisfy them, maybe not for long term, but it will at least in that moment. And that can be enough for you to pack up your stuff and reevaluate if you need to leave or move somewhere. At the very least, it'll give you some space in the meantime. And finally, there may come to a point if we really are in this all disaster scenario where you need to prepare yourself for guilt. So again, on this channel, we talk about all kinds of things and preparing ourselves with gear, with skills, right? When it comes to the overall objective, we want to work on our mental, our physical, our emotional, and our spiritual. And we want to make sure that we're strong and we're resilient in all of those pillars. However, there will come a time where, especially in this environment, where you may see people who are suffering. You may see people who have, in the event of a landslide, they may be crushed or they may be stuck under some rocks or debris or something of that nature. If you're talking about wildfires and they're spreading, you may experience someone who just lost their dog into the fire and they're actively asking for help for someone to go back and find their dog. You may find someone who's trapped in a car, depending on where you're at. But if you are actively trying to escape one of these scenarios, it can be tough because you have to make a decision if you're going to help that person or not. And even though it is tough, the honest truth is that you need to focus on yourself. You need to make sure that you and your family, your immediate bubble, you guys are good to go. And you guys are safe and you guys have a plan of what you're doing. Because the moment that you stop and try to help other people, you're now putting your own life at risk. You're putting your family's life at risk, because if the leader is gone, then who is going to lead your family? And that can get into a whole messy situation. So when it comes to dealing with these kind of scenarios, you don't ever want to get caught with your pants down. So if you do see these situations, you just need to assess them and really make sure that you're using your best judgment. So if you have a situation where you have time to help somebody out, you can pull them out of rubble real quick, or you can apply a tourniquet or something like that. If you have the means, the time, do it. But if you're trying to escape, and like I said, here in California, this stuff happens all the time. And we have seen countless videos of people actively running away, trying to jump over cars, fighting each other to get away from these fires. And they act like animals. And so if that's happening to you, don't worry about other people so much as to focus on yourself. Get yourself straight, make sure that your family's good to go. And then if you have the capacity and the ability to, then you want to reach out and help others as needed. Now, dealing with these issues can be difficult, especially if you have little ones. So I just made a video last week talking about how you can prepare your children for dealing with these types of emergencies and disasters by training them in a way as to not overload them with fear and anxiety, but instead making things fun and educational, and eventually having them inspired to want to continue to learning about emergency preparedness. If you're interested in that video, go ahead and check it out right here. I also am very excited to share with you guys that because we are growing as Dozer Rescue, I have finally put together my own Amazon storefront. So I have a bunch of different products from Amazon, name brand items, as well as off-brand items, but they're a little bit more affordable. I have all these different items that I have personally handpicked and categorized. And so if you want to help support the channel and help prepare yourself, my link is down in the description to my Amazon storefront. Go ahead and get yourself something to prepare you and your family. and you'll also be supporting the Dozer Rescue channel as a bonus. With that being said, stay safe, stay prepared, and stay tactical. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.